Hello, my fellow fallible humans. How you doing? Great to have you here. This is the Red Roof Recovery Show, a program to soften the path of recovery from substance and behavioral addictions. And it's not just for addictions, it's for life. I'm your host, Tanya MacIntyre. I'm here with you every week to share my experience around my own recovery from drugs and alcohol. And I want to thank my friend, my mentor, a very talented singer, songwriter, musician by the name of Russell Allen Scott, for gifting me the use of this beautiful theme song. It's called Greatest Bravery. I created Red Roof Recovery from Greatest Bravery. It took great bravery for me to come out of the closet talking about my drug and alcohol addictions. And I created Red Roof Recovery to provide not only a unique program for residential recovery treatments, but also to develop a relapse prevention and maintenance program, all designed to help you create a sustainable recovery. All of these programs are based on the principles of CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, along with various other tools of therapy. Red Roof Recovery focuses on tools of therapy rather than schools of therapy because there are literally hundreds of tools to choose from. The key is to find the tool that works for you. This is about you and your recovery, and we're all different. Once you find something to help you abstain from harmful substances and behaviors, then you grab onto that and do more of it. On this episode of the Red Roof Recovery Show, I thought it would be fun to do a synopsis of the last 4 episodes. We covered the 4 keys to higher consciousness. And those 4 keys to higher consciousness are shutting down the inner dialogue, banishing doubt, cultivating the witness, and taming the ego. Well, yeah, it's amazing that we got it all done in 30-minute shows. And then Tammy Bannon was with us for a couple of those shows, specifically the last episode when we were trying to tame the ego. So I'm so grateful to have Tammy Bannon back with us for this episode of the Red Roof Recovery Show as we do this synopsis on the 4 keys to higher consciousness. Those of you who know our show know that Tammy Bannon is one of my favorite people. She's a successful Ontario realtor, and she's an expert NLP person, neuro-linguistic programming. And we were just talking about how challenging it can be sometimes to have a friend who's an expert in NLP because she constantly reminds me to watch my language, which can be tiresome. But I love you, Tammy. Thank you.
It can be tiresome for me to be me too. So I totally understand that. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. So taming the ego, it's a huge topic. And I had somebody actually email me at redroofrecovery@gmail.com and talking about the show because she loves how we interact with each other. But she said, you didn't actually do what you said you were going to do on the episode. And that happens a lot because I can skip down the bunny trails very, very easily. Yeah. So I think that's what happened. We were skipping down the bunny trails when we were taming the ego.
A lot of taming the ego got sort of caught up in regular conversation. So it might not have been nearly as obvious. So I'm really, really thankful to that person for pointing that out to us. Because taming the ego, as you said, while I disagree, because it's a negative statement, as you said, can be confounding. Like it's complicated, and it seems more than just the 3 little words, tame the ego. Mm-hmm. But again, the most important part about any change is awareness. So we'll talk about when does the ego show up and how can you begin to increase your level of awareness around your own ego.
Perfect. So let's just quickly touch upon the other 3 keys to higher consciousness. So we talked about the inner dialogue. That is the incessant chatter, that negative narrative that runs in a loop, never shuts up. I call it the committee in my head.
Or not just the negative narrative, any narrative. It's the automation of it that we're attempting to get closer to learn more.
The default tends to be a negative narrative. So once we become aware of that, then we can intercept with positive things.
Correct.
Inputting more positive things. Banishing doubt is another one. Being selective about what we absorb into our mind. Very, very important. Because our diet is more than what we eat. It's what we watch. It's what we read. It's what we listen to. It's who we're hanging around with. We become the company we keep. So I think it's very important that we keep the company that we're keeping, people who are supportive and loving and encouraging.
Like-minded and challenging and growth-oriented.
Yes.
Yeah. And let's just go back, if you don't mind. I apologize for interrupting. I'm going to try to stay on track too. But banishing doubt, to me, is one of the more difficult ones of those four, because doubt is it's an unconscious state of mind that we've been programmed to find the doubt.
It's also a default.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So noticing when you've been doubtful, like things like, and again, in social conversations, doubt has become a normal commiseration. And, like even the weather. So, oh gosh, I hope it's a good day tomorrow. Okay, can you hear doubt there?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, even the word hope.
Exactly. Hope suggests. We talked just earlier today, and I think it's brilliant for people to keep this with them. We should have the expectation that it will be the end result we're looking for. As when we flip the light switch on, we just expect that the light will illuminate. We don't go, oh gosh, I hope this time I turn it on, the light comes on. Oh, I hope it'll work. Oh, I hope there's nothing wrong. We don't do that. Our expectation is that we're going to flick the switch and the light's going to come on. We should practice those same things, expectations, in all of our desires, thoughts, and intentions.
Intentions, absolutely. Cultivating the witness was another one. Becoming our own witness. Start noticing what you're noticing and nurturing the guru that lives within you. That's what guru means. It's the teacher within. So we're always looking outside of ourselves for answers. And the answers are in here.
That's exactly where they are. And a great example or analogy of this one I like to share was, I remember it was a number of years ago. I was driving down the expressway, sitting in my car in the fast lane, probably speeding. But suddenly it occurred to me that if another species or being were watching us, sitting in these steel boxes, driving quickly on a road that's shared by other steel boxes to get to a destination that we must look absurd. That's a witness observation. I now saw myself the way someone outside me might see me. And it entirely changes your perspective on how you see the situation. So cultivating the witness allows you to be the observer. And remember in the stop analogy, stop, take 3 breaths, observe. That's cultivating the witness. Observe your behavior, your feelings, your reaction, your propensity, your intention to move forward. See it as though you're someone else looking at you.
And think about how you want to show up.
Correct.
Right? It's the practicing the pause. I need to practice what I preach.
Wait. I did it again.
Yeah.
You have been.
I have been.
And
it's a process, absolutely.
Because it took you years to get to this. So you're unlearning and reteaching. And you're right. It takes practice. Yeah.
And another thing I like about cognitive behavior therapy is because oftentimes when we're not practicing that pause, we can show up not being our best selves. And those times, of course, can, in my past, it would fill me with shame and regret. And now it fills me with opportunities to learn. Okay, so what did I learn from that? Well, I learned about how not wanting to ever show up that way again. And how am I going to respond differently? So it's about taking that time, put it in draft, as I always say. When we're typing out that angry email, let's just let it sit in draft for even overnight would be good if we could do that.
Yeah.
Because 9 times out of 10 in the morning, you're not going to send it.
Right.
So it's practicing that pause.
And sometimes just getting the words out in whatever form you're using, email or writing a letter or
texting.
No. Sometimes just putting them outside of yourself will be enough. The send button can become completely unnecessary. The desire is to get the feeling and the words out, not always to stab and fix the problem. We just want to express. And it doesn't always need to be shared because the ears won't always be listening with the heart that the message was intended to be sent with, or
when you respond with an angry email, you're using your emotions. And so they're going to hear with their emotions. And it just creates a platform that takes away
A clash of emotions.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Tanya gave me a coffee this morning. So I'll be talking a little quicker today. I skipped here.
So nurturing that guru within, that's about cultivating the witness, becoming the observer of our lives. Taming the ego. So this is what we touched upon last episode. So now we've got just over 18 minutes.
Okay.
To tame the ego. So the message was basically, and I don't even know if we talked about this acronym last episode, EGO, edging good out. So that's how I like to look at ego. So if I notice that I'm edging good out of my life with my actions and behaviors, then I know I need to do a catch it, check it, change it kind of thing.
I like that. Catch it, check. I like that a lot. Catch it, check it, change it. Again, that's great because it's the pause. Remember, we talked about the gap. It's the space and the silence that gives you the clarity, right? Catch it. I love that. Say it again. Catch it, check it,
change it.
I love that a lot. Can't keep that.
We have a lot of those slogans
Acronyms,
in recovery circles. We need them, right? We need that fast stuff to help us not react, to just take the pause and respond.
And again, check who you want to be. How do I want to show up? If somebody was telling the story, what do I want them to say about me?
Right. That's a very good practice to do. Absolutely. So when we're edging good out of our life, our actions, our attitudes, we are in an unhealthy ego state, because when we talk about ego generally as a society, it's a negative thing. And ego is not negative. We need ego in a healthy state.
Well, even if we didn't need it, we can't get away from it. It's part of our id.
Id.
Yeah.
Oh, do you want to get into the 3 stages of ego?
Maybe. I'm not sure. 16 minutes. Okay.
Right. So that's the id, right? That, what's his name? Freud talked about. Yeah.
So again, the most powerful part of any change or anything is awareness, right? And we'll go back to where so finding the guru within, right? The ego is within. So the more you're looking within, the more you're going to see what's in there. And definitely that's where the ego's hanging out. But the connection, and I do remember saying this, so I hope that woman who missed, because we've been bunny trailed, here's this part. But the a good clue to when the ego is involved is, am I going outside of myself? Am I asking, saying, or being a certain way, looking for validation for my actions or my value or my worth? That's the ego involved right away, right? So for instance, sometimes when we're talking with somebody, we can be ego-centered, and that might translate then, I'm not actually hearing you. What I'm doing is waiting for my time to speak, because what I have to say is so important that I have to get it out so that you'll think I'm important too. You see?
Yeah.
So the ego takes away our ability to hear in an authentic way from the people who are speaking. The ego takes away our self-appreciation and looks for external validation or to make us, seem more valid or valued or worthy. And so noticing when it's showing up, then you can, again, step back into that gap and say, I believe in myself. I don't need the external validation. Perhaps I'm not going to say this now. And I want to say that the power to do that brings so much more to your life. When you're not concerned about what the external response will be, you're able to show up with a relaxation that provides more authenticity to emerge from you. You get to be more concerned about hearing the people and contributing to not just sharing your own vision, but contributing to the expansion authentically of the exchange.
I heard someone say once, humanity doesn't evolve until the conversation deepens.
Oh, I love that.
And I love that too.
Yeah.
And I think,
again, we talk a lot about asking the deeper questions. That's brilliant. That's good today. That's 2 I've got. Catch it, check it, change it. Maybe. Yeah. And that one, say it again.
For humanity to evolve, the conversation must deepen.
Must deepen. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Well, communication is an acquired skill that
I know. I've been working on it my whole life.
right. It's a lifetime endeavor. Absolutely.
So tell me an example then, Tanya, of when you feel, even just after this little conversation or as you've prepared for today's show, where your ego shows up.
Oh my gosh, it's I often talk about approval addiction.
That's ego.
That's ego.
Yeah.
hmm
Yeah.
So I want everybody to love me.
Right.
You need to like me. It's important to me.
Yeah.
I don't receive criticism well. I shy away from it, which is why I chose a radio career over a television career, because I didn't want to face the criticism that came with putting myself on camera, because I did it for a brief amount of time and I didn't like the feedback.
I got to tell you, I watched back one of our episodes together and I'm going to watch my language. Well, honestly, I have to tell you, I was overwhelmed with shame. I felt that I looked terrible.
Wowza.
Overweight, old. I mean, it doesn't matter what labels I put on it. It struck me like a punch in the face. And I realized my message is no less important because of my appearance. Some of you listening may judge me based on my appearance, and that frankly, that says more about you than it does about me. And so I had to really work through that, looking at myself in that way and still appreciating and loving my message. And it takes work. I showed up to one of the shows with, 2-inch gray roots, and I had to embrace it. My gray roots do not define my value. My appearance is not me. That's ego.
Yeah.
It's ego.
And we talk about that a lot in recovery circles when I encourage people to not label themselves an alcoholic or an addict or a junkie or a
I
druggie.
am, the statements of I am, that whole Saint Germain wrote a book, the I am discourses, and Wayne Dyer talks about it in a lot of his presentations. How you finish the sentence I am is a cellular command.
It absolutely is. It's like the water experiments.
Exactly.
It's done with everything now. You can do it with rice as well. An at-home experiment to do with children is a very powerful way to teach them the power of their words. If you just put some cooked rice in a mason jar and have 2 mason jars, same source of rice, and put love on one and hate on the other, and put it away for a while and watch what happens. Fascinating stuff.
I brought my grandson a book called The Alphabet for Humanity. And so as our generations grew up, the alphabet was A is for apple, B is for boy, or blah, 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 okay? Well, this new book is mindfulness-based. And so A is for, oh gosh, I wish I could remember now. But anyway, B is for bravery, C is for compassion, D is for diversity.
Nice.
And it's a beautiful introduction to a new generation of children who will be taught human interaction at its most, at its warmest, most growth-inspired place. And I was having a conversation with somebody about that. And he said, oh, diversity is a pretty big word for a kid to understand. And I said, if you say so.
Yeah.
Right? But wouldn't you think that learning to operate an iPad for a 4-year-old would be a challenge? And yet, have you seen these young kids operate these electronic devices? Things that we thought were so difficult, which we still do sometimes. The kids pick it up like that. So if we start teaching them things like, or embracing, even accepting, and even conversing about things like diversity and compassion and gratitude and all, then their foundation is way stronger than anything we could have ever imagined. So it's only difficult if you think it's difficult.
Yeah. What we think about, we bring about.
Energy flows where
Attention goes.
I mean, these are fundamental rules, not unlike gravity, that we've just been steered away from. And I think almost all of the conversations Tanya and I have had on this platform, we're steering you back towards your own humanity.
So I'm just looking at my notes here about ego edging good out, a message to realign our actions and our intentions. And good can also be subjective.
can also
Right?
be, absolutely
Yeah.
is subjective.
So it's equally important to have an accountability process and partner to help us stay in integrity, I find. We also become the company we keep. I say that a lot. Important to keep a check balance on that confirmation bias that we can allow to creep into our lives sometimes to support an unhealthy attitude or belief.
This is a great time to be talking about confirmation bias with the state of our planet currently. It's become a real big topic. And while I don't want to go down that
Another
trail,
bunny trail. Mhm.
looking for confirmation in any avenue is your ego.
Yeah.
Your ego. So we're getting it now. We're staying on ego.
Ego. Yeah. Edging good out. So that's
She's giggling on the other end going, thank you.
So she was even going to have her husband listen in.
Okay.
So that was no easy feat for her. So
Yeah.
hopefully you've dragged him to the...
Yeah, I am me, regardless of what you think of me.
Well, we say that all the time in recovery circles again, right? What you think of me is none of my business.
None of my business.
It's hard to get...
Is it?
Well, if we say it is, there I go again.
I'm getting better at it. I can see some people struggle with it as I evolve through it.
Right.
I know it to be true, and I'm learning to employ it in my life. I mean, having these sort of reverse affirmations, to get you out of conditional thinking into constructive and crafted thinking for your own evolution.
Crafted thinking. I love that.
I just made it up. You can have it.
Thank you.
I owe you one more for today. And it's a practice. And again, we've been so many years being this way. So we'll have to spend some time choosing a different way.
Excellent. So yes, those of you who are enjoying this exchange on video, then you can appreciate all of Tammy's concerns about how she was showing up with, Grey Roots and all that stuff. And I have adopted a uniform for Red Roof Recovery, so I didn't have to worry about how I was going to dress. That's part
ego.
of ego, right? Is that I went to the trouble to come up with a uniform that I could wear on camera, so I didn't have to worry about what I was going to wear.
Just imagine for a moment that you knew your child felt this pain, this social pressure of having to be, look, say, do certain things or ways to prove themselves to their peer group. As a parent, that's a painful, painful realization. And you can feel it with them. And yet, when you do it to yourself, you seem to have this, laissez-faire kind of attitude about it. So all we're asking you to do is have that same reverence for yourself as you would for someone you love. And you say it beautifully. Treat yourself like you would treat your best friend.
Talk to yourself like you talk to your best friend.
Yes, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So once you get into the practice of doing that, talking to yourself like you talk to your best friend, assuming that you talk to your best friends in a nice way. I've heard some friends not talk very nicely about their friends. So assuming that you do talk to your best friends in a nice, supportive, loving, compassionate, kind way, that's how we want to be talking to ourselves.
Yes.
And just had this conversation yesterday at an AA meeting. I still go to AA meetings. I love the peer support there. And what keeps coming up in AA meetings is self-love and self-worth. That's what people want to talk about. How do I find self-love and self-worth? It's a common theme with people, and not just in recovery circles. I think it's with everybody.
Because this isn't just about recovery. It's
about life.
It's about life.
It absolutely
Addiction
is.
is just a part of the living experience. And I mean, let's face it, Mary Morrissey said, so does, most of the people I listen to say, part of the human experience is having adversity. I mean, there's nobody that anybody could say that hasn't experienced some sort of adversity. And how could we appreciate the beauty in our lives without having experienced the adversity? So I have an expression: you're either on your way in trouble, or on your way out of trouble. That's our life experience. And so at this point, and I've shared with, maybe some of you will know, I've had a ridiculously crazy year, and where I was in the trouble. And now I was on my way out. I'm out of trouble now, which means I'm in the gap, which we talk about, right? I'm in the gap. I am riding this wave hard, man. I want this one to last for a really long time before I have another human experience that's taking me back on my way into the, I called it a bad word before.
Yeah, it's just riding the waves.
Just riding the waves of life.
The waves
and
of life.
appreciating the present moment of what it's offering you, right? Because I'm a different person than I was before I fell off this bike, before I went up to Nova Scotia and landed back in your beautiful convalescent care. I'm a different person. Had I not experienced that, this person you see right now would not be this person. Right?
Absolutely. And it's hard to see when it's happening. I remember
being in it
6-7 months ago when it happened.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. And it's also important to nurture and allow those feelings their time to make their way through you. Trauma takes time for your body in a cellular way to process, and your mind. You can change your mind like this on sometimes, but your cells got to catch up with you.
And there's no timeline on healing.
None.
We did it.
Oh my goodness, we did it.
Yeah. 3 minutes to spare. We have got Taming the Ego down. We've got this.
Yeah, and if you've got any questions, feel free.
redroofrecovery@gmail.com. If you think that you or someone you know may qualify for a unique recovery experience, then by all means, email me at redroofrecovery@gmail.com. I'm also working on some online aftercare relapse prevention programs that I will be unveiling soon. I'm a published author. I've got 2 books, both in honor of my philosopher dad. I'm making it a series. I'm working on my 3rd one now. But book number 1 is Mindful Wisdom from my philosopher dad, Sage Advice from a Single Father. And he was a remarkable man and deserves a legacy of greatness. And it's got 3 5-star reviews on Amazon.ca.
Nice.
Like, I'm telling you, ego. Oopsie,
Right?
oopsie. Yeah. Second book is called Daily Wisdom from my philosopher dad, some inspiration to guide your days. This one I did to maintain my own mental health through the pandemic. It's set up like a journal with inspirational messages that you can browse through every day, 365 of them for you. And what I really encourage you to do is not only buy my books, but take some time every day in this Daily Wisdom book to reflect on the message and then write down your intentions, your thoughts for the day. Today, for instance, the soul of the world is nourished by people's kindness. Ooh,
Beautiful.
Yes, there's some pretty deep thoughts in there. And I have found in my life experience that the power of words is extremely powerful. The power of the written word is transformational. It's life transformational. It has been for me, and I hope it will be for you too. So you can get my books at amazon.ca, Philosopher Dad, Daily Wisdom, and Mindful Wisdom. I'm also thrilled that here in Canada's prettiest town of Goderich, Ontario, we have Finchers in the Square also selling my books. So thanks so much. It's worth the trip to Goderich. If you don't want to go on to amazon.ca, come and see us in Goderich. And remember, redroofrecovery@gmail.com if you'd like to be a guest. If you have any questions, by all means, we're happy to answer those on an upcoming episode as well. Remember to speak to yourself like you speak to your best friends, assuming that you speak to your best friends in a nice, loving, kind, compassionate way. May the force be with you. And remember, you are the force.